All right, now we're going to start chapter 10, the instrument families of Western European culture. So the world instruments, these are the categories for all instruments across the world. Aerophone, chordophone, idiophone, membranophone. And Western European music, they got highly developed, very uh, detailed work. Artists make these instruments. We call them artisans because they're so good at making them, like violins. There's violins in the world that were made by a violin maker named Stradivarius a long time ago that are worth like hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can get a Stradivarius cello for like $1 million. That's how expensive they are. But they're very old, they're very rare, very hard to find, and that we will learn about Stradivarius in a later lecture. So we're going to look at the instrument families of the symphony orchestra. String instruments make up the biggest part of the symphony orchestra. This is a diagram of the instruments. All of these down here, these wooden little diagrams, these are all the string instruments. The lowest is the string bass, also called the double bass. Then you have the next highest, which is the cello. Higher than that is the violas, and then the very highest are the violins. There's two parts to violins, the first part and the second part. Violins are the highest, violas are next, down we go to the cellos, and the lowest are the bass. Then we have all of the woodwinds. We have the flutes, clarinets, and oboes, bassoons. Then we go back to the brass. The brass are kind of a golden yellow color because they're made out of a metal. Trumpets, trombones, a tuba, and French horns. Then you go to the very back and you have all of this. This is percussion instruments. You have the pitched percussion instruments. They make certain notes. They're tuned. The timpanis, the marimbas and xylophones, and the gongs and bells. And you have non-pitched, like the snares and the cymbals and the bass drums. You also have little instruments like triangles and castanets, sometimes tambourine. And then back here we have the piano and the harp. The piano gets to be with the percussion family because the piano is actually struck. The strings are struck by a hammer. So anything that's hit is in the percussion. The violins are played with a bow, so they're just called the strings. Okay? So, I have a cute little song that might help you remember that. All those four instrument families in Western European music. Oh, the orchestra is a community made of happy families. There's the strings, the woodwinds, and the brass. And don't forget percussion in the back. There's the strings, the woodwinds, and the brass. And don't forget percussion in the back. Okay, now, in your ebook, I think it's on page 40, you have all of the violin, viola, cello, and double bass. You can listen to those videos so that you can hear them. So go to your ebook and listen to the violin, the viola, the violoncello, which is simply just called the cello, and the double bass. Those are the string families, instruments. They belong to the world family of chordophones because they're played with strings. The string family in Western European music are bowed and plucked. They have a bow, and they use a material called rosin on the bow so that it glides and vibrates over the string. Next, you're going to go to your ebook and you're going to listen to the different kinds of things the string instruments can do. They can play legato, which means slow and pretty. They can play staccato, which means short and choppy. Pizzicato is where they literally take their finger and pull the string. Vibrato is when they shake their left hand finger down here. They shake it on the string and make the sound. It makes the sound quiver. There's a glissando where they scoop up, and a tremolo where they go really fast. They can also put a mute on the strings to make it softer. They can trill, which means going back and forth between two notes really fast. Double stop, which is two notes at one time. Triple or quadruple, which is 3 or 4 notes at one time. And they can also play harmonics. All of those examples are in the ebook. If you do not have an ebook, just search on YouTube for string instrument playing legato, and you'll find something, hopefully. But The ebook has all of those examples. I'll let you listen to that on your own. We have other plucked string instruments that aren't used, they don't use a bow, and those plucked string instruments are a harp, a guitar, and a bass. A guitar has frets, a bass can have frets, or it can be fretless. Oops, sorry about that. So fretless is a bass, and you can listen to those examples in the ebook as well. Then the ebook is going to take you through all of the woodwind instruments. The woodwind instruments of Western European musical instruments belong to the aerophones. They use air to make the sound. They blow air into a mouthpiece or a hole that is fitted with a reed, and that vibrates the air and makes the sound. They have holes in the body of their instruments so they can make different notes. They put their fingers over the holes to make different notes. The single reed instruments are all here. The flute, piccolo, clarinet, bass clarinet, saxophone, and tenor. They have one reed. It goes in the mouthpiece and it's made out of bamboo. And you can watch those videos in the ebook. The others, or search them out on YouTube. The other instruments have a double reed. A double reed means there's two pieces of bamboo, very thin, wired together, and they blow into that. That's the oboe, the English horn, and the bassoon, and the contrabassoon. So you can watch the videos of those on the ebook. Here's what a single reed looks like. Here's what a double reed looks like. And the flute is in the woodwind family because they're using air to produce sound. If you look at this piece and you see where my arrow is, your mouth goes on this side and you blow over the hole and it cuts the air. And if you look at this piece of little gold material, that's actually the reed. That's what you're splitting the air on to play the flute. So yes, the flute is a woodwind instrument and it has a reed. Just it's not made out of metal. I mean, it's not made out of wood. It's not made out of wood. The brass instruments belong to the aerophones as well because they use air to make a sound. But they buzz their lips into a mouthpiece to make the air vibrate. And they use valves and keys and slides to make the different notes. So here's all the brass instruments, and you can listen to their videos in the ebook. Trumpet, French horn, trombone, tuba, cornet, flugelhorn, euphonium, and sousaphone. You can also surf them on YouTube for examples to hear what they sound like so you can recognize them. I'll only play a few for the test, but you should be able to recognize them. The percussion instruments, we have two kinds, definite pitch and indefinite pitch, and I'll explain that. Definite pitch instruments, these are the idiophones, which are metal, and membranophones, which are made out of a piece of skin, animal skin. And they make a certain sound that has been tuned. So a timpani is tuned, it can play 4 distinct notes, and it can be tuned to play other notes as well. Xylophones, marimbas, and glockenspiels and chimes all have specific notes. The indefinite percussion instruments like the snare drum, bass drum, tom-toms, cymbals, and gongs, tenor drums, they make a sound, but it's not a tuned pitch. So that's the difference between definite pitch is tuned, indefinite pitch is not tuned. And then we finish out with the pianos and the videos in the ebook about the piano, electric piano, organ, and harpsichord. You can listen to those so you can hear the difference in the way they sound. And that's chapter 10.